But it's just so many small things, like I said, behaviour, identity, lots of stuff with information about transitioning and all the things that come with that, and support and how to come out, and we can factor in loads of things.
How far do you want this to spread? This to go? Do you want to go nationally? Do you want to go areas?
Everywhere.
I mean, we've got some people.
I've got a friend who I've known since he was at university. So I've known him long before my other three before born. And he is at the moment doing he's doing social care, and he does mental health. He's very, very much into that. He was brought up in care, into foster care and things like that, or back and forward. So he works with children who've maybe been through really rough time and in between things, but he's also the person I went to when he came out. So he's because he's gay and he lives with his partner, so he's really good listener, and he's really good at giving advice. I just wondered if maybe I could pass your details, Jane, to him. And he's in the northwest.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, our area is North Wales, northwest. So we've got Flintshire, Denbighshire, Cheshire West, Cheshire East, Merseyside. We've got that area is kind of our focus area.
Yeah. East Manchester area, that way.
And Manchester, yeah, northwest. But then we want to roll out to the whole of the UK because the need is everywhere. And with some of our projects, Lisa, we've got people from San Francisco, we've got Los Angeles, we've got Germany, we've got Holland.
There's a lot of interest from the trans community in Europe at the moment as well with that, which has been.
So here's a question for you then, ladies, especially for you as well, Lisa, because you've already been through this. Because I think we've had some conversations internally within the team about it. Because I think perhaps it's one of the things that we're going to come up against the first is if we're having young people access Black Dog Juniors who are talking about their journey to transition, or they need to talk about how they would come out to their parents, how it's going to be difficult to navigate that in terms of kickback from parents and from I don't quite know how that would look, because that's a massive subject, and we get asked that all the time. We get a lot of parents that come to us saying, please can you help, I don't know how to deal with this, but we also get a lot of young people. So I think from your perspective, Lisa, would it have helped you if you'd had some more support yourself? Or I mean, you're just great anyway, but I don't know how.
I think for me it was quite easy for me to kind of deal with it because I've got a lot of friends who are gay, and who I speak to, and also Dad went through this when he was in his early 20s of not knowing, and he was very open when we first met about that, and I think it kind of I made him kind of understand that whatever you do, whatever you say, whatever you are in life is absolutely fine. But I've also tried to explain to him that not every parent, not every family member will be on your side.
100%.
They won't always think like you think. And yeah, I think kids have got to realise that it's all right going, yes, Mum, I'm gay. You know what I mean?
You need to protect with that armor as well, so that not everybody, exactly the same with everything, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
I think there's there's toxic negativity and there's also toxic positivity. I think sometimes if you are constantly like, everything's fine, that's great, that's amazing, it's lovely, and then you send it out into the world and they don't have the same responses, they don't know how to deal with any criticism or any name calling or any judgment, and if you're not equipped with
I'm actually finding it harder at the moment, not with when he came out. He wrote me a little note, put it on the fridge, and said, this was in year 6 in the primary school, and said, don't read it until I go to school. And I went, right, okay then. And it was a shock because we always thought it'd be always been the flamboyant one, the very, you know what I mean, we used to call him, do you know what I mean, we used to wind him up. He was always the one that wanted to wear the makeup and dress up and things like that. So we always thought. So it was a bit of a shock. It wasn't a problem, but it was a bit of a shock. But now has got to the point where he was, at the weekend, he was practicing wearing makeup. I've bought him his first pair of heels. He wants
that's so cool.
And it's a case of, I actually find it harder. And I said to him, do you want to be a girl? He said, no. He says, I don't want to be a girl or anything. I said, right. I said, and you're not gay? He said, no, I'm bisexual. I went, right. So you don't want to be a girl. You're bisexual, but you still want to wear makeup and the heels and all that lot. And I said,
why not?
right, okay. But I actually find it harder trying to understand that than somebody who's gay.
Yeah. Because there's no clear definition for you, is there, to wrap your head around? There's so many different variations. It's just him expressing himself in a different and unique way. But I
think
get
as well, it's hard because it's amazing that times are changing. It's amazing that everyone's more open-minded, but the access to things like RuPaul's Drag Race and all these things where there's this positivity and the support, and it's a great thing, it's fabulous, and it's so exciting to explore. It was never acceptable before. So people weren't talking about it, people weren't praising it, saying, yes, you go, and having that same mentality. It just was oh, no, you can't do that, it's boys, or you can't do that, that's a girl's thing.
I think I'm just scared of the bullying.
Yeah.
He gets, you know what I mean? He struggles to fit in on the every norm day anyway. So
you can see this making it worse.
You know what I mean? It's like he wants, next year, if it happens, he wants to go to prom. And am I going to have that battle with school? Like some people have had. It's like the new musical's coming out for the Jamie musical. And Sam is so excited. It's about a lad who went to prom wearing a dress, but his parents had the battle with the school. And I'm thinking to myself, am I going to have that? Am I going to have that battle? And I thought to myself, do you know, I watched this morning, and there was an 11-year-old on from South Wales, and he does drag queen, and he wears makeup, and he's dancing, and again, he likes RuPaul. Yeah, and his parents were so supportive. And I thought to myself, do you know what I mean? If I could just be like that, he's 11, if I could just be like that a bit more, do you know what I mean? What does it matter what everybody else thinks?
I think you've got it nailed personally. I think you're worried on his behalf, but equally I think you're a Christian with both the skills to sort of say, this is how it is. Some people aren't going to accept it, but we fully accept you, and that's okay. But I think keep with that. The stronger you're coming off, the less worried that you seem, the less worried he'll feel, and he won't be worried about that. He will be able to just whatever.
And it'll build his resilience as well. And especially if we've got the lads joining in with our sort of peer mentoring, and we're just going to try and infiltrate schools with all this kind of stuff, having conversations about these things, showcasing different styles and different things. And
I also think very much the here and the now as well. Don't be worried about too much in the future. Just focus on what you're doing right now, because it's working. It's working. As long as he's happy, you're happy. I wouldn't worry too much about what ifs.
I think you're spot on there. You are spot on. But one of the things that we really want to focus for Black Dog Juniors is on anti-bullying, because our when we first met, the whole point of what we were starting to do was just about bullying and hate crime, and then everything else stemmed from that. So for us, it's huge because there's so many different areas to that as well. And there's so many different people struggling with different things around bullying, whether it is your gender, sexuality, identity, the clothes you wear, the music you listen to, the fact that you're sporty or not sporty, your size,
money
your shape,
or no money,
whether you've got money or not,
family or no family, like there's so many reasons.
Everything. So the more things we can do.
I did put in contact with. I asked a lad first. A neighbour of mine. He's her son's gay, and he's a cheerleader. He's absolutely fantastic. Chucks the 1.5-year-old nephew up in the air and scares the life out of me.
Nice.
But they put me in contact with somebody who lives very, very local, who does makeup artists. He's a healthcare assistant for the NHS, but on the side he does makeup artists and things. And I kind of put him in touch with, so
like a peer mentor.
Makeup ideas and what not to do and things like that. Actually, he put his makeup on yesterday after practicing over the weekend, and he actually looked really, really good. It looked better than I do, actually. I was quite shocked.
These kids,
it annoys me. Do you remember days of just blue eyeshadow or silver eyeshadow? That was a lot. Maybe a bit of blue mascara. White lipstick.
These kids have got skills. They've got massive skills, haven't they?
He's getting his first week on Wednesday as well.
Oh, brilliant. Oh my God.
On Wednesday, sorry, I missed that.
He's getting his first week on Wednesday as well.
Oh, yes. Love it.
I bet you can't wait. I just love the thought of him just up and down in heels, and you like, come on, you clip-clopping around everywhere. But it's brilliant because you go back 10 years and this would have been a different conversation again. So you've got to think fast forward 10 years, and you've got to think their kids, you know, the next generation, when their children, school will be a different landscape, conversations will be different. We just got to navigate this difficult part now, I think. And it still brings us back around to the fact that other than things like this, just small little initiatives, there is no support. And it's not a small thing, is it? We're talking about suicide and self-harm and really serious implications for future mental health, you know, starting now, poor mental health and knock-on effects to the economy, to people's physical health, to everything, family dynamics in the future. It's massive, and it just doesn't seem to be a priority. It's just, is it too difficult for people to deal with? Is that what it is? Is it? I don't understand why it's not the forefront.
I think it makes people feel very uncomfortable, because if they happen to be in a better position, or they happen to not be in a position where they've, you know, ever had to experience that before, like, what do you say, what do you do? There's some guilt aspects, and like you said, you don't want to burden someone else, but at the same time, then I very much believe that it makes people with their own problems feel maybe like, oh, well, maybe my problems aren't sort of worthy of any kind of support or help, because these people are going through this, and then all of a sudden it becomes this like, I just feel awkward and don't know what to do, so I'll just remove myself from this conversation. And it's
I suppose in a way, if you haven't, I suppose in a way as well, past generations, so my parents' generation, my dad would have been open, he would have been happy no matter what they did or what they were or anything. But it's weird, it's hard to ask your generation, so my parents, for advice, because they wouldn't have, do you know what I mean, had anything. It would have all been behind the closet, and nothing would have been discussed, and you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And it's, I do still think it is a bit of a taboo conversation with certain eras, certain age ranges. I think older children struggle. I
think it's people in positions of power at the moment as well are still very much bordering on that level between previous generation and this generation. They know that they should be changing it. But actually their actual beliefs and what they've been taught and what they're used to are actually like,
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think that's exactly what it is. I think we're still at the point where the generational difference is so wide, and the people that get to make the decisions are so far removed from the experience. They have no relatability, and it's far easier to prioritize something else because it's so out of their scope. It's like, well, I know it's something that people keep talking about, but I don't get it. It's just weird. Just they'll sort it out, and that's the problem. That is the problem. That's why there's no action being taken. It just made me think, actually, while we're on, I'm going to put this out to the public as well, because we're going to share this live, any ideas. But I'm just thinking in terms of what you were saying then, Lisa, about, and we know from our work that gender, sexuality, identity, that's a huge big thing for young people, massive, but it isn't the only thing that I'm saying for parents. So if we've got Black Dog Juniors as a group, and that is specifically for parents, grandparents, carers, adults, because we know kids don't engage with Facebook, so the Facebook groups for us, to have space around, to talk about our young people and get support specifically around our young people. Maybe we could set up different rooms in there. So there could be a room where we could have a chat just about, you know, are your kids, have they just come out as gay, or are they talking about transitioning, or is there anything to do with their identity, what they're, you know, they're starting to wear or starting to
even just that, where are you buying your wigs, where do you buy your heels, like positive so nice, things as well, like support, friendships, networking, social pub,
other parents going through the same thing. That'd be really cool. And then another room could be specifically if somebody is struggling with depression, clinical depression, or if somebody's social anxiety is getting too much, or if they know their child's been self-harming or eating disorders, or bullying, specifically just bullying in school. We could have different rooms that set
advice up on navigating the mental health system, CAMS, all of those things.
We can get some speakers in. We can get some speakers. I think that for me is the only way I can think at the moment to drive something forward, to start, and then maybe just see how it grows organically and see what the majority of the subjects are that come up and where the help's needed the most.
I think it will be a slow burner, but I think the minute people start to form relationships and find out that there are people that are in exactly the same position as them, where they want to be supportive and they are a bit unsure about how things are, and you create friends and you create this social hub, it almost supports itself, and then that in itself is one coping strategy that's, you know, already there and ingrained, which is great.
That's a good point.
But then safety in numbers, like people can't argue against a whole bunch of us, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good point.
You might not hear one person, but they'll definitely hear 100 of us.